Hello students, my name is Dr. Maggie Gaddis. I look forward to meeting you sometime this semester. Thank you for joining me remotely, primarily. In this video, I'm going to show you around the Canvas course, which will be our primary location for meeting. And I'll show you like some things like why are you seeing all these assignments, for example, on the side. I'll try to explain those things. So firstly, this is the home page. And normally the recent announcements populate here, and then you can also click on the announcements tool to see all of them. But this video is my first announcement. Now I have right here the reading resources page on the home page, and I plan to do this for the whole semester. And so you'll see the current reading will be at the top, and then I'll push Unit 1 down when we get to Unit 2. But it'll always be there, right at the home page, so you can see it. And I am striving to use freely available resources. So these are books and articles and websites, and there'll be videos, textbooks, etc., and they are all accessible by a single click. So here, notice this is a lot to read, and so I say right away that you know this is a low stress affair. Okay, there's no reason for you to feel like you have to read all of those papers start to finish. I would never quiz you on something that we didn't talk about in class, but we have a diverse array of interests, and we're all seniors and grad students. So seniors or juniors, so you already know a lot about geography and environmental science, and so I will try to have references here that will appeal to people interested in different kinds of resources or on different landscapes or the more political side versus the more scientific side. I am a biologist, so I tend towards more scientific perspective, but you'll see I have some legislative documents here, and this first unit is really largely about the history of public lands, which has legislative theme to the story. Now on the right, you'll see it says to do, and this looks like a lot of things to do, but look at the due dates. They're set pretty far out. I still need to publish the rest of the course to you, but I didn't want you to be overwhelmed, so I just have the first 2 units here. But notice there's no beginning dates. That's why it says everything's to do. I want you to work at your own pace. If you find that you have 2 whole days to work on this class, I want you to be able to work on all the things that you have time to work on. I want the timing of things to be flexible with you being proactive and using the time before the deadlines to manage yourself. I am a very compassionate and flexible person, but I do not take kindly to people who tell me sob stories after the deadlines pass. That's just not a way of behaving for success academically or professionally. If anything happens, 90% of the time at least, you have the opportunity to text me. I have my cell phone in the class, or to write me an email and just say, hey, I'm not going to make this deadline. And just think about it that we're in a professional relationship. If I was your boss and you just didn't show up, you would probably lose your job. So here, if you're not going to show up, at least show me the respect and courtesy of telling me before it happens, and then I can be flexible and we can work out an alternate plan. So get going on these assignments. The quizzes do not appear until the Friday before the deadline because I want to take into account what we talk about when I write those quizzes, and they are essay quizzes. So you will be given a couple of options to write 3 essays, and then you choose which ones you want to write, and then I will grade them. There won't be a manual grading. But I would only ask you to explore topics that we explored in the class already. And that being said, it's open book, so you can go back and reread our discussions. You can look at the documents while you're writing those essays. It's a composed summative assessment, not one that's trial by fire trying to get you to memorize stuff. Okay, enough about that. So the archive of announcements will show up here. There are no announcements right now because this is the first announcement. The announcements take two general varieties. They could be like content oriented, so it might be TED Talks or a lecture that I made in video form, or usually the written essay lectures I have in the discussions. But then also I'll remind you about the schedule, and I'll try to do that every single week. Of course, you can remind yourself about the schedule by reading the syllabus closely. This outlook here was in the poster that was in the department, which I assume is what recruited so many people to the class. And then here we have the course schedule. This is very detailed. It tells you exactly when you're supposed to do everything. As I mentioned, do not operate according to the deadlines. You're bigger than that. Find a time in your life, a day every week, that is devoted to this class. I would prefer that you find 15 to 30 minutes a day for this class, because as far as your brain biology goes, the more times you interact with the materials in light, low stress ways, the more you will learn. More neurons will be built in your brain and you'll have more recollection skills. So you'll be creating this whole web of knowledge in your mind so that more things will trigger those memories. If you're studying frequently and in a low stress environment, if you say, I'm going to cram for this class one day a week, you just deny yourself the brain building time that you could afford yourself. So now this class is set up as modules. Notice there's no assignments on this left toolbar. It's just modules. And because this is how it's organized. The assignments would drive you towards the deadlines, and I'm not a fan of that, as I just noted. So the first few tabs are Wiki Pages. So they're kind of like that home page that I showed you that had your discussion references on it, your reading references on it. And if at any time you want to see all of the pages upon which the course is designed, you would just click Pages. And any page you're on, there's that little View All Pages. And then you can see all these pages in here. Okay, so let's go back here. So I'll push this stuff down after the first week, and then there's Getting Started in Canvas, Academic Support, and then we get to Unit 1. So in a couple of days, I'll just put Unit 1 right at the top. And then in a Canvas course, here again is that same page that was on the home page, Reading and Multimedia Resources. And see, if you use this breadcrumb trail, you'll end up back at this page's link here. But if you use your browser back button, you'll go back to whatever page you were on last. And then your first order of business after reading through the course is to introduce yourself. And so you'll go in here, you'll tell us about you, you'll read about your peers. You're always going to respond to 3 of your peers, and you're always going to sign your name to the post. It's kind of like your academic integrity statement. This is who I am, these are my words, and I respect you. Discussions, you have to participate in them 3 times a week, make an original post by the original post deadline, and 3 reply posts by Friday by the last deadline. Once we get into it, we'll have a cadence of 1 to 2 week discussions. And then whatever happens on Thursday, I'm not sure what's going to happen on Thursday. So hopefully you'll help me to figure that out. I have no intention of lecturing. I was really thinking of it more as like an office hours kind of drop-in time, but I guarantee you there'll be discussions that arise, and I will record those discussions. You can participate virtually in a Teams meeting during the Thursday evening time if you're not one of the 10 people who can come onto campus that week, and or watch the recording later. And I'll set up a RSVP for people to sign up to come to class, and we'll make sure everyone who wants to gains that opportunity. There's no like extra credit or anything associated with showing up in person. Just show up if you want to or don't. Okay, and then we'll go to quizzes. So there's only 4 quizzes. And then you'll be working on a project for most of the semester. So let's take a look at that. So, let's go back here for a second and think about this outline. Okay, so we have this course outline. First, we're gonna think about who owns the land in America. Okay, and we can branch out to other nations as well. But I want this to be really hands-on, and we have this opportunity to be remote, so you have the time to go seek the professionals in our nearby environment to learn from them as well. So if you are joining us or your home state is not Colorado, we can branch beyond. But I will be talking mostly about America, and then when we get down to the local governments, those of Pedspeak region. And then we're going to move into a science-based unit, ecology, where we'll talk about basically the ecological principles that drive land management and natural resource management. Third, we will talk about engaging citizens with citizen science and filling our management needs with volunteers. In the absence of federal funding to support such monitoring efforts, citizen science is like the new trend of ecology. And ecology itself as a discipline has a less than 100-year history. So first we talked, for example, about biodiversity all the time and sense of place, and we've kind of come into this citizen science place, but I'll talk all about that later. Okay, let's not get too bogged down. Pedspeak region case study. So this is the project. You'll submit periodic assignments, and we'll always be talking about these case studies, and then you'll learn from each other because you'll all make choices that are different, and then you can work in groups of, I would say up to 4 people, but if you just want to work alone, that's fine too. But basically, you're going to seek out a landscape and a management strategy in the Pedspeak region, and you're going to understand that from a geopolitical standpoint, from an ecological standpoint, and you're going to develop a protocol for addressing monitoring needs on the landscape. So it might be, it says here, city employees, I noticed, but I will take that out. It might be Forest Service, city, might be private landowners, nonprofit. You decide, maybe you already have a partner that you work with or you've done an internship with. So you'll work with that person to figure out what they think the needs are on their landscape. And you will work towards developing this formal but short paper that describes your case study. And the assignments that go along the way are like to submit citations, an annotated bibliography, an outline, a first draft, and the final draft. And then along the way, we will practice field ecology techniques. So again, as I noted, I'm a scientist, so like a biologist, so I think of myself as really driven towards the mechanics of environmental science and natural lands management. So I'm going to try to show you how we measure the landscape that we're trying to manage. And then here we have what I've already described in summary. Okay, we have the final project, the quizzes, and then 2 different kinds of discussions. So we'll always be in a discussion. When we're in a wiki discussion, this is basically a student-driven collaborative effort to build a study guide. So I told you already, you don't have to read every single thing that I post. You have to read enough to be an effective communicative member of our community. Maybe you care about water issues, right? So you read the paper about water issues, you go into the wiki discussion, you describe that paper, and you start a discussion about water, but someone else read a paper about policy, and they just started a discussion about policy. And then in the end, we've covered all the readings in these discussions. And then we'll have some special topic discussions that drive us all towards a very specific topic. And you will get to choose one of those later in the semester as a community. All right, so where were we in our narrative here? Everything I just tried to verbalize is written here in this document. The case study projects, okay? So this should go into a bit more depth. Here are some of the possible case studies that I've already brainstormed. You can create your own ideas. And then we go right into the rubrics for the various assignments along the way. And as you'll see, this is a gradual release of responsibility, a building of effort for you, right? And no one's writing this paper in the last week of class because you will have already written it. So when you submit the citations, you get 10 points, the bibliography 20, the outline 20, the first draft 30, and then finally the final paper 60 points. If people have been paying attention and working along the way, in the end, it's like getting 60 free points because you've already done all the hard work by doing these scaffolding assignments before. Okay, I hope that you're even more excited about this class after this brief talk, and I look forward to meeting you in the discussions, hopefully today, absolutely by Thursday, and then tomorrow I'll make a video for you to describe how we're going to handle Thursday signups. Okay, thank you very much. Just kidding, I forgot one quick thing. Notice here, there are no messages in my Canvas inbox, but if you read the email I sent you over the weekend, I said that I wanted you to communicate with me here. I do have several emails in my uccs.edu email, but trust me, that's a mess. There's tons and tons of emails coming from tons of different departments from the university. If you want me to get to know you and your work product, you will try to communicate with me right here in Canvas. I know some professors don't use this at all, but I use it and I prefer to use it here because I don't want to neglect you. Okay, thank you.